Hi everyone, this is Catching Up with the Nerds with your hosts David, Sarah, James, JC, and Tom. This is a podcast about a bunch of nerds scattered across the multiverse of nerdiness, joining forces to deep dive into nerd pop culture to make it more accessible for you.
Wow, look at that. On brand. On brand.
Yeah, evolution of the intro. I think it needed to happen.
Yeah, as we said before we start recording, there's going to be a new intro, so you won't have to do that ever again fairly soon. Yeah. Thanks to James.
That's the last one.
No, I didn't say it's the last one. I said it could be potentially one of the last time. All right, so it's Sunday again, day of recording day. We could be watching football, but no, we're here to talk about another nerdy topic, namely Doctor Strange 2. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I think that was the official title. Yes, lots to talk about. But first, hello Dave, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm ready to go. Ready and raring. I've been through 3 multiverses in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah,
a lot of multiverses out there all of a sudden. I don't know what's up with that. Multiverse maze, some call it.
Yeah, Multiverse maze. I know you've been bursting with topics and things to talk about because you watched it on release day and you were like, I've got opinions, I need to talk. And I went, shut.
That's absolutely right. He issued a gagging order. And I haven't been able to talk about it until today.
Yeah, no text. I even blocked your WhatsApp, with the help of my friends somewhere around the world, and they literally hacked into your WhatsApp and said that you can't talk with anyone.
These are the depths he goes through. I love my boss.
Yes. And pay rise. Anyway, moving on from there, we begin with JC. How are you doing today?
Good. Wait, I just want to circle back. Wait, what was the third multiverse for you, Dave? That's where you lost me. I know the second, but I don't know the third.
The game, Warner Brothers Multiverse.
Yes.
The fighting game. They've brought together all of their IP. Not for Space Jam 3 this time.
Nope.
But for a fighting game.
Yep.
I don't know what to think about it. Like you sent the trailer and I was like, I feel like that isn't there.
It looked cheap, but it's so weird. Like some of the mix of characters is so strange. Like seeing Arya Stark and is it Justin from that kids' TV show? And then Batman, and it's just like, whoa, this is crazy.
And then Scooby-Doo. I agree. Scooby-Doo was a bit of a stretch, I thought.
As Shaggy,
Shaggy,
it's a wild combination.
It's like, what could Shaggy's like superpower possibly be? It's like sits there just like he's like stoner power and just like knocks down Cheetos and just like projects like stoner vibes at you. Like,
maybe he's doing like how's it called? A fish tank? Is that what you do? Is that how the kids call it when you shut all the windows and
hotbox.
Hotbox as well. Yeah, that's true. There's another one. But yeah, hotbox. Well, hotboxing Batman then Batman becomes absolutely weak.
He's been there before. Scarecrow's done that to him.
I know, right?
They go way back.
Oh, actually, that's how you defeat Scarecrow. You tag in Shaggy, and he just inhales all the fumes. He's like, I'm good.
I've done that before. It's nothing to me. It's nothing you can do to me. Then
we already made the game better. All right, moving on.
There you go.
Hi, my God, there you go. Talk to us, Warner. We got IDs. Right, so we are going to go through Doctor Strange, as we mentioned before. I'm going to go through the plot fairly quickly, and I will be assuming that everyone's watched it, as it's been about 3 weeks now. It's been out. As I said, Dave's seen it on release day. I've seen it a week after that, and I think JC, you've seen it a couple of days after it got.
I saw I think it was the Saturday after the Thursday release, so fairly close.
So we all got different reactions, different crowds, different experiences. So we are going to, as I said, go through the plot. Spoilers alert right now. If you've not seen it, we'll assume you don't care about being spoiled or that you've seen it. And then we'll talk about what we were expecting, how we enjoy the movie, and our thoughts, of course, about what we've seen. Mine would be very brief because, we don't understand. So I'm just going to go, unless anybody else has anything else to say before I proceed with running through this, racing through the script, not the script, but the plot.
Yeah.
So we start. I don't know how. I want to do it briefly, but also I kind of lied because I want to go deep, but no, I won't. So I don't know. I mean, many different minds with this. So we I'm gonna say first scene, but no, it's not. We start with a different version of Doctor Strange, going for the book of what's it called, Vishanti, with a new character, America Chavez. Doctor Strange gets killed. They jump universes. They end up on Earth 616. That's the one. And obviously we are now not introduced, but we are catching up with Doctor Strange, the one we know from our universe. He gets interrupted doing something important, which is the wedding of, what's her face? Well, I've got a name now.
Rachel McAdams.
Rachel, thank you. Rachel's wedding.
Christine.
Yeah, it's Christine, but it's Rachel. I prefer. I like Rachel. Sounds better. Like Rachel, she has a Rachel face. We'll call her Christine because that's what we do. There's a fight. Doctor Strange saves and rescue American Chavez. They understand that there's this weird witchcraft monster that was trying to kill her. Oh, witchcraft. Who it is though? Who is it that we know that's into witchcraft? Wanda. Boom. So we go and visit Wanda. She reveals herself to be the one who has been chasing America Chavez because America Chavez got some nice little powers that she would like to steal, namely jumping through multiverses, because Wanda would like to reunite with her fake kids that she definitely didn't have in WandaVision. Hot take. No, they're real. They're another universe, establishing that they're real. Okay.
Yes.
So that's where we are. Wanda is a baddie. She's going to try and mess up with, trying to kill everyone that is getting in her way to get those powers and to get to her kids. Is that good so far? Yeah, it's pretty good so far. A bunch of stuff happen. They jump universes. They end up in the, what's the other Earth? Is it 838? That's the one they end up with, the Illuminatis. Bim bam boom, big fight. Most of the Illuminati dies in a actually quite funny fashion, I thought. It's supposed to be a horror vibe, but to me it made me laugh. Except for one, which is, what's his face, Mordo. Surprised, but he ends up fighting Doctor Strange, our Doctor Strange. Again, a bunch of stuff happened. We've got one last fight between Doctor Strange and Wanda. There's a nice fight where Doctor Strange is now using dead body of himself, which is quite funny. Again, I'm racing through it, right? Because Tom's in it. Doctor Strange as a way, Wanda manages to grab America Chavez's powers. She jumps into the other universe and finds her kids, but also in the process messes up with her version of herself that is living in that world and scaring the kids away from her. So seeing that reaction, she kind of snaps out of the dark hold over her. And she realizes that, those kids actually, if I do take over their mom's life, they probably won't like me very much. And they are scared of me, and they're scared of the version I am right now. And that's kind of where we end up with, right? I think Doctor Strange... of course, Wanda dies. She ends herself in a way, right? She goes and destroyed. Spoiler alert, I know what we say, we don't care. Everything is sorted. We don't know what's happening with her, but obviously because we've not seen a body, we know that she's still alive. Doctor Strange wins again, and America Chavez, what she does, she stays in the same universe. Yeah, she stays there, and she's ending up getting trained into the mystic arts by Strange and what's his face? I forgot his name. Anyway, what's his name? I forget his name. Well, I keep forgetting his name. Juan.
Yeah.
Wow. And then bang, Doctor Strange got a third eye because he's used the dark hold, and that's a weird time to be alive. Mid-credit scenes, we see Strange with walking around New York, and suddenly his third eye comes up, and there's a mystery character that shows up, played by Charlize Theron, which I appreciated. Yeah, and then she's like, "Oh, there's been an incursion in another universe. You can come and help us fix it." Cool, let's go. Doctor Strange 3. I think that's about it. I think I went super fast through it. I missed a lot of things.
Good. And we get a final credit scene where we basically all get trolled.
Yes, we all get trolled in the third. Oh, loved it. Absolutely loved it. Right. So as we said, what were we expecting before walking into the movie theater? What were your hopes and dreams about it? Who wants to go first? Because yeah, I'm like that.
Well, David watched it first, so had the freshest take.
Here we go. Well, I went into it thinking, no, I'm not going to do that. What did I think before I saw the film? I try not to have too many like preconceptions, just because once you do that, then you're either setting yourself up to be disappointed, or a film can surprise you in really good ways, but you've already cast your mind down a certain path, and that can, even if a film is really good, if something that you expect to happen or think was going to happen happens, it won't have the same impact. So I personally tried to clear my mind, but I did kind of see this as sort of the biggest film in this phase so far, like comfortably. Yeah. Kind of like a return to the main timeline, the main storyline. I know obviously WandaVision had huge implications for the universe as a whole. Loki the same. A lot of the other stories were sort of individual stories that are happening alongside all of this stuff. Can't forget What If's influence. But I feel like this is the next sort of film on the main path, the main thread, as it were. And on that front, I do think it delivered. As far as what I thought would actually happen in the film, I was pretty much surprised by everything. Everything, even from the beginning, like even from that first opening scene. I didn't think it was gonna go down this path. I knew potentially Wanda would be the villain, but even the way that happened all blew my mind. So yeah, I think going in, I expected for this to sort of set the ball rolling for this phase, kind of more so in the way that Iron Man did in phase 1, even though that was the first film. Right? When you have the credit scene, not the film so much, but when you have the credit scene afterwards and you see that, oh, okay, this is going to be one in a series of other films.
Yeah, that's it's interesting because I mean, if you don't mind me going next, JC, I mean, it's literally what. So I was very happy because going in, I didn't get spoiled, nothing at all. So I went in just watching a couple of trailers, so that's all I knew about the film. And then also for people who've not watched it, then A, what are you doing here? And then B, go watch Loki first, WandaVision obviously, and What If, because they are the three big kind of storyline that converging, or the influences are getting together. Yeah. Especially I think What If is the big influence here, surprisingly. Yeah, I didn't know anything about the storyline. I didn't even think that from the trailer that Wanda would be the bad. Like I didn't know she was going to become like this big bad character that quickly. I thought she will turn maybe later.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I had no expectations almost, because which is weird, because I knew in some level, like you said, that would be the big turning point in this new phase. Like, okay, this is where we're going with this story. This is what's going to happen. This is the path we're going to use now. So it's also like I was watching this and I was like, oh, there's a lot of things to take in, and that's, well, we'll get to it when we talk about what we took away from the film. But yeah, I don't know. It's almost like there was so much. I had zero expectations, but also there was a lot to take in, and I still don't know what to think of it. But we'll come back to that. Yeah, JC, so good job, I think.
Yeah, so for me, I actually had some expectations. Funny enough, they weren't about plot. At the same thing, I kind of tuned out about what the plot was. So to kind of like echo what Dave said, like I was surprised by generally most of the plot. The fact that America Chavez was even going to be in this movie was a complete surprise to me. I had no idea, and in large part because I took the decision, like I think like 3 weeks ago, to like take Twitter off my phone. So usually I'm going through like movie feeds and stuff, and I just wasn't doing that. And it was kind of nice that way. But the part that I had like a really a really big expectation was the fact that I knew that Sam Raimi was directing this. So for me, it was one, if this isn't even a bit horror movie like, I'm going to be disappointed. And if this isn't super weird, because it's literally called the Multiverse of Madness, and you got Sam Raimi directing, I'm going to be disappointed. So those are things that I did go with expectations going into it. And so I was really looking forward to see how much Feige was going to let Raimi be Raimi. Because that's been a thread where sometimes Feige doesn't let directors do their thing, right? I think we really first saw it with like James Gunn and then Chloe Zhao, where they brought their own style and aesthetic to the movies. But the other directors have been really hamstrung for the most part because they have to keep the Marvel formula for the most part. So that was my big thing. I said, I'm curious to see how much they let him do his thing. So those were my expectations going into the movie. Plot wise, I was like, I don't know. But today's was like, it's going to be big. Right. But I just didn't know what was going to happen. So that's kind of how I went into it. And other thing I will say is like, I watched this because I think your movie experience also matters, like where you watch it. It wasn't opening night. So it was a couple of days later because I don't want to get spoiled. I still watched it the first weekend, but it was in a movie theater where ridiculously, I mean, for good and bad reasons, I kind of went middle afternoon. We're still a little bit like where there's a little bit of a COVID surge happening right now in Portland. So we went like middle afternoon with my oldest, Aiden, to a movie theater that generally takes like vaccination cards because not all of them do it here. So what it meant, it was like a kind of like middle-aged sort of like lazy afternoon crowd. So I didn't get like the reactions from the crowd. Normally got it like in another movie theater. So that also like kind of tied into the experience a little bit in terms of like how I went into it. But aside that, that's about it.
It does play with the way you enjoy the movie.
That's a good point.
Like I watched Endgame in the cinema twice, and both experiences they were massively different. Like I went on. The day it got released for obviously the first viewing, and it was people jumping out of their seats and crying and laughing and stuff like that. And then I went a month and a half later because we had to watch it with the rest of the family, and it's like dead silent, and every single big thing that you watch, you're like, are people dead or just like
they're watching it for the 9th time?
Or were they unwillingly dragged into the cinema just to watch it? It's the Sam Raimi thing is quite interesting because like he can be really gory and violent in the way he does his film, and you can tell that he's like they told him like, oh, just give us a couple jump scares there. I mean, they were fairly light jump scares, but they didn't really, there's one death in there that was like, that's nasty. I mean, we can name it as Black Bolt. Brain melted. Actually,
it was so good.
I loved it because I was like,
that was an incredible moment.
That was such a funny. I mean, the whole Illuminati thing was just funny. Actually, talking about the Illuminati, we just give it a shout out to Jose, who was going to be here, and he has a massive man crush on Richard Reed. Well, not Richard Reed, but the actor who played Richard.
Krasinski. Yeah.
John Krasinski.
Yes, and he asked me to drop that in there, that he's in love with him. Anyway, so now you can shout out.
But also on the Sam Raimi side of things, like he did do the Spider-Mans that everybody kind of like credits as like the mold for all superhero movies afterwards, right? Like everybody's trying to emulate those movies in some way or other. So that's what I was like, to me, it's like, this is a big deal from a director perspective. I was kind of very into that.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was. It's just you can tell they were telling him like, we'll give you a couple a couple scenes where you can be a little bit gruesome, PG-13 gruesome. But then you'll have to go back into the Marvel mold sort of thing. You just need to. We'll give you a little bit of leeway, but then come back and listen to what Uncle Fergie's got to say.
But on that front, and I feel like now we've moved into thoughts on the film.
Sure.
Yes.
I watched an interview with him, and he was saying that he wanted to put in, like, it was meant to be a horror film. Obviously, it changed from having Derrickson as the director.
Yeah.
And I am curious what Derrickson had already done with the film and what Raimi kept from whatever they had done with Derrickson. But Raimi mentioned the way that the film was shot, and it's interesting when you actually go back and look at clips of Spider-Man 2, Dr. Octopus's Revenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they carry out the experiment surgery, whatever it is, for him to get his arms.
Yep.
That scene actually has a lot of the same characteristics, the same Raimi horror characteristics that Multiverse of Madness does. There's so many subtitles out there.
Just call it Mom. Doctor Strange.
Yeah, where they zoom in on people's faces while they scream and things like that. Those techniques were used again here.
Yeah.
Well, the famous one is the one where they zoom into Wanda's eye, when she's dreamwalking as she's attacking the Illuminatis. That's very Raimi. Yep.
Yeah, and that's from his old stuff, right? Like the Evil Dead, Army of Dead stuff, right? It's like that's like signature all over the place. So yes, I agree. Literally, when I went into it, I was like, the scene with like the Doc Ock claws coming at people out of the blue and pulling them off. I'm like, I want more of that. If there isn't even just a little bit more of that, I'm gonna be upset, right? And that's what I wanted from the movie for sure.
And then adding to Sam's multiverse, I guess. So the actor that we see in the post end credit is actually from the Evil Dead.
Yeah, the guy selling sausages punches himself
pizza balls. Pizza balls.
Sorry.
Yeah,
different
for
universe.
3 weeks, punching himself for 3 weeks, which was so funny.
Yeah, that's Bruce Campbell. That keeps
Bruce Campbell.
sorry, yeah, that was a good callback. All right, so shall we get into the sit down, watch the movie? What did I feel? What went on in my brain while I was watching the movie experience?
Let's do it.
I've got one. Just the one I want to kind of want to start with, which messed with me a little bit because I think everybody does the comparison between Marvel and DC universes, right? Like the movie universes. And one of my big, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have the same sort of complaint, which is Marvel's taken their time to introduce characters, like they have the standalone movies and then they jump into each other's movie and then they have this big Avengers moment and blah, blah. But you do get a new character introduced very slowly or fairly slowly every time, somebody that's going to be important to the storyline. When DC doesn't, DC just goes, hey, here's the Flash, here's Aquaman, here's freaking Batman, this version, he's
Cyborg.
And you're like,
and they're in emails.
Yeah,
they're in emails.
Exactly. So you're thinking like, okay, who's that guy? And then they give you the quick backstory. And so that's how I felt with American Chavez. It was like, I was like, first scene, first frame, it's like, bang, she's in there. And I was like, that's fairly weird being in the Marvel universe because she's not a small character. She's pretty much part of the plot.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is really weird that they've done it that way. It felt out of place almost when it was like, hey guys, bah! There you go, there's a new character. And I was like, okay, so they do go through her story when they walk through the parallel universe when they're like, oh, let's read your memories, discounted price, whatever. And then you see Doctor Strange's one, and then you see her life, which is, she's got 2 moms, and then something happened when she gets scared, and then she just literally just got her moms to jump through universes as well, so she doesn't know where her parents are. So that's kind of the backstory with her, but then obviously she doesn't know how to control her powers and stuff like that. So, which is fine. When I thought about it a little bit more, I was like, okay, almost like you don't need much more than that at this stage, so it was fine. But it felt out of place within the entire model of like the Marvel model of introducing new characters, right?
Hashtag cheap exposition. Literally, they said discount memories. That was discount exposition, dude. Like they just went like, oh wait, let's look at our past for no good reason. I was like, oh come on.
Shall we move the plot along?
Yeah.
Let the plot hold your hand.
Yeah.
So that I don't know if you guys think the same. I thought that was something that part of the entire, like all the CGI that were amazing, and this kind of was in the middle. I was like, cool, but like she's got this massive role, and we don't really know who she is, and we can kind of make our minds, we can think, oh, she's a teenage girl, and she obviously had a lot of stuff, and she's been traveling. Like she's the one thing that I found cool about her was, well, she's the one version of herself. Like there's 25 different billions.
She's a Nexus being.
She's a Nexus being, right? So I thought that was quite cool about her, which is will also explain why Wanda wants to actually get a hold of her. She's one in a zero, not one in a million. But she's one in a zero.
One of one.
One of one. Model one. So I don't know. I don't know if you guys thought the same. I don't know if it's something that bothered you when you watched it.
It didn't bother me, but I did become very aware that they packed, this is more of an afterthought, but that they did pack a lot into the film. There was a lot to get through in terms of pulling together all of these different mini threads into one film.
In a short running time as well, compared to other movies they've done before, right? There's 2 hours and 6 minutes, I think. Usually we get Marvel films which are 2.5 hours, 2:45.
For the more so for the ensemble films. I don't think the individual films are that long. Like Doctor Strange 1 wasn't this long.
I think usually they want 45 or something like that. But but that's what I mean. It's like they've packed so much in it, but it's only 2 hours and 6 minutes, which usually when you've got like a big crossover film, then you usually go to like 2:15, 2:20, 2:30. So anyway, somebody else talk.
I'm gonna save my America Chavez comments for later because that's definitely in the post analysis moment, because I definitely have a ton of thoughts around those. They're not good.
for me, it was like it was in the moment. So I didn't talk about it like what we thought about the movie bit. It's more like as I was watching it, literally I went, "This is a weird move," and it kind of disconnected me for like 2-3 minutes. I was like, this is really weird. This is unlike that.
Agreed. Actually, no. In that case, my reaction was just like, "Wait, what?" Like I was actually like I didn't even realize it was her up until they had like a longer shot of her like an outfit, and I've seen that from the comics. And I was like, oh, and I looked, I bumped in. I was like, "That's America Chavez." Like literally, that was my reaction during the movie. Afterwards, the thoughts were different, but in the moment, I was like, like because I had no idea that was coming, no clue.
Yeah, same. When I saw the flag on her back, I was like, wait a minute, why has she got an American flag on her back? And I was like, oh, yeah.
And this is why I thought it was weird, because usually you're going to a movie and you're like, oh yeah, shit, that's her. It's amazing, cool. You know that this happened to her, this will happen to her. Yeah. This time you went in cold. It's like, that's kind of odd. The way
and she was revealed in the first scene, right? That's the other weird thing about it. Right, even Batman versus Superman didn't dare do that.
They brought you dinner first, Then, it was interesting. I mean, I've seen Doctor Strange at the IMAX, so the big ass cinema in London. So that's quite an experience in itself. So all the CGI was quite incredible. So my experience of seeing it was fairly spectacular.
Saying that though, in the second scene, so. The one in New York, Earth 616.
Yes.
I started to see cracks in the CGI.
Oh, there's a couple of scenes, yes.
the demon, when it was holding Wong upside down.
Yes.
It looked very fake in a way that Marvel films don't normally look fake. And then also it was very obvious in multiple points that Wong had a body double. So when in that same scene, I think there's a part where he either gets hit or he attacks and he spins around like in midair, and it just wasn't Wong. It was someone much slimmer, much younger, smaller head. Like it was just clearly not Wong. Also, when he gets knocked off the cliff later on, when Wanda's using the dark hold, it was just like it's Wong, and then it's not Wong as he tumbles through the air, and then it's Wong clinging onto the side again. It was like,
let's put a positive spin into that New York scene at the start. There's to me one of the super badass scene where the Doctor Strange is at the wedding and he's like from up high, and then he sees the monster, or he can't see the monster, but he sees the fighting. And then he just goes and jumps off, and I went, yes, this is what I want. Like, give me those scenes, like, you know, because there's a lot of entrances, like big hero entrances, you're like, he just walks in the frame, and this one I'm like, this is what I want to see. This is a comic at the end of it. This is drawing. This is supposed to be fun. And like he jumps off and it just like starts flying and transforms midair, and I'm like,
Thank you for reminding me of that, because for me, when I saw that, I was like, that's so Bond. Like, it's like Bond does a bunch of stuff, falls off a plane and stuff, and just like walks off and just like corrects his suit as he's doing it. And I was like, that felt so Bond to me. I was like, I am there for that.
There's that scene in one of the Bond, first the Aussie Casino Royale, when he gets poisoned, he gets a heart attack, or his heart, like he needs to go back to his car and get a shot. I can't remember what, like the antidote, and then just walks out the car like after his heart almost had stopped, and then he goes like, all right, let's finish again. I'm like,
exactly.
Right.
That is so metal, dude.
You go with it. So yeah, you're right. I was very good to that.
But on the monster, funny enough, my take in the moment was like, I don't know if have you guys gotten around to seeing the new Suicide Squad?
Yes, yeah. It was fairly similar. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's Starro. But to your point, it was like a kind of crappier version of Starro, if I'm honest. Like Starro was actually much better. But I thought, like, I wonder how much they're. At first, I thought it was a shot at DC. Honestly, I thought like, oh, they're making fun of DC for using like ridiculous bad guys, and I thought it was that in the moment. I still think it kind of is, if I'm honest.
But they messed up though. If that's taking a shot at DC,
because
just went, our alien looks better. Yeah,
it does really. So okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good point. The opening scene was actually legit. It was cool. Like I had no significant issues with, like, outside of the CGI, the fact that they were fighting this thing, and I was like, who are we fighting? But this is a Sam Raimi movie, so of course we're fighting like a big monster sort of thing. So I was like, I'm kind of down for that. Like,
and
as
then
much
the way
as
they kill it, the way they kill it as well was very Sam Raimi. It's like, just I'm gonna pull that eye, but then also you notice that it's very Marvel, so just pull the eye out. But they didn't like. I would have seen like a little bit of brain come out. That would have been nice, you know, just more gruesome.
Yeah, it set the tone in a certain way that I thought, okay, I'm in for this. As much as there were some things that had like glitters, but I was like, I'm in for where this is going, and it feels different to other Marvel movies. So I'm like, I'm in definitely for sure.
And it was already the second monster we had seen, right? Because the first monster was in that very opening scene, and I think that sort of set the tone for the madness element, right?
Yeah.
The fact that you're going to see just some weird, odd shit, and it's going to keep happening throughout the film.
And that they kill the ponytailed Doctor Strange at the start right away. I was like, that's nice. You know, like usually they would not kill even like an alternate reality characters. You'd be like, oh, he's injured. He got left behind. Nah, he was dead. He's a dead body now, buried on the rooftop.
Yeah.
Spoilers for later.
Never to be touched again.
Never to be touched again.
And actually, this is the other thought I had when Doctor Strange dies, a ponytail Doctor Strange. I thought like, oh, they're gonna run this movie in like not in chronological order. At least at that point, that's what I was saying. Like, oh, this is the end, and we're gonna build back to it because, and actually, it ties back to what you said, Tom, about like America Chavez just showing up. That's why I thought, oh, we're gonna get backstory that leads to this point, and then we're gonna get there somewhere mid through the movie, and then the movie's gonna carry on from then. That was my thought at that moment,
and we kind of do.
And it kind of does play in some ways. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like when stories are cyclical like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, it's pretty cool. I was going to go ahead and talk about the third Doctor Strange in the film, but I guess we can leave it for a little bit later.
Oh wait, yeah, we
The
did
third Doctor Strange.
Hold on, you gotta
Give it time.
you
Give it
gotta
time.
Pace
like
myself.
Yeah.
yeah, man, you gotta like lean into
Let me
the story,
follow.
buddy.
Let me follow along the story. I'm going to follow the plot, and because the next thing we kind of see after that New York scene and everything, that oh, why is that monster coming from? Like, whoa, he's got runes and switch. So we go and see Wanda, who's living in a nice farm with apples everywhere and the smell of sweet apples. Bullshit. Which made me laugh because that scene. So when they had a little chat about, oh my god, I've got America Chavez with me and blah blah, and then Wanda reveals herself to be Scarlet Witch and she's looking for her kids and she's the one that's pulling all the strings and sending monsters after America Chavez to get her powers. And that moment when she goes, oh, you never said America, like you never mentioned her name, but then she said it. I went, fuck. So the same reaction I did when I went to watch the Batman movie, the latest Batman movie. Like every time there was a riddle, Batman within 0.5 seconds had the freaking answer, and he was like, "What do you think?" Yeah, so, okay. It was the same thing. I went,
the world's greatest detective. Come on now, it's on brand.
And for me, this is where the cracks started to show in this film.
Like,
this is where the cracks started to show.
Like, can you really like? Oh, that's never been done before. Oh no, you said the name, but you never mentioned the name, but I said it. Oops. Like, really? There's a second one that happens later on we'll talk about, which is on that same level, which I'm sure you guys picked up on, which maybe not. Yeah, which is the twist, right? Which is like, oh god, she's a baddie now.
Yeah.
But when I saw this, don't get me wrong, there's some stuff with the dialogue that there's tons of dialogue stuff in this movie that I have severe issues with. But the fact that Wanda is the baddie, I was happy about in that moment. Where I was like, please let this not be some other demon from another universe sort of thing. It needs to be Wanda. Because we get the demon in the beginning. I was like, oh no, oh, I hope it's not that. And so this kind of set me at the time of watching, this set me at ease. I was like, okay, it's Wanda. We built it up. We're paying off WandaVision, which has been a minute since WandaVision. So I'm like, I'm glad we're back there.
Yeah.
But then that is one of the big complaints with this film. Some people feel like they undone a lot of the good work in Wanda. Like they basically set Wanda back to her pre-WandaVision state, basically, where she wants kids again. Like it felt like at the end of WandaVision, she sort of accepted that she wouldn't have kids and she had made her peace with that and she was going to just get on with her life, basically. Whereas now, all of a sudden, it's like we're back to this again with the whole kids thing. And my rebuttal would be that, well, yes, while she accepted it at the end of WandaVision, she then started to read about the Darkhold and then started to learn about herself as the Scarlet Witch. And I think that, as we know from the rest of the film, comes with an inherent amount of corruption to it.
Yeah,
you learn about evil things. It's an evil book.
So just to jump on that real quick, because this is literally, you know, when I got out of the cinema and I texted and I went, oh, like I don't know how to digest everything because I'm jumping slightly ahead, but at the end of it, when she dies and she realizes that the kids, like she can't be the mom, blah blah. So, and I was like, hang on. So we just went through an entire movie of her being the baddie, kind of for nothing.
For her to be back at the same.
At the same, right? But then I thought about it. It's like, actually, no, it didn't make sense. The whole thing made sense. But it's true that at face value, when as soon as I got out of the cinema, I was like, it felt something as if something was off, right? Like it was like, I'm not sure if we just sat for 2 hours just going in circles in terms of the entire storyline. I don't know.
Yes and no is what I would say to that. It's so does it undo all of WandaVision? I don't think entirely. So Wanda goes into WandaVision wanting vision. That's what she wants. Her trauma is losing Vision. The fact that she had to kill Vision is her trauma going into that show. That show reestablishes a further layer of trauma of her losing her kids. But keep in mind that kids just show up. She's just happy with Vision. And the kids just like, which we assume Agatha kind of had a part with, right? So the kids just show up. Then when she finally lets go of Vision, because Vision goes on to be something else, what she wants is the kids. So in that sense, I think it does follow. Now, to your point, Tom, do we go through all of this movie just to get back to the beginning where she was? Yes, I agree. And that is what Stan Lee famously said multiple times, which is the illusion of change. All of Marvel was built on the illusion of change so that they can continue to have these characters go on for decades. And he very famously like admitted that. He's like, yeah, no, we want you to think there's change, but there never is change at the end of the day, right? And that's the part that we have to give in, like, there's a give and take with that with these movies where it's like you cannot hold them to any other standard outside of what they are, which is like, Tony Stark could come back. Like that could totally happen. We've seen him come back in What If, right? It's like, it would suck. I would really hate it if Tony came back, but all these things will be undone in ways that I'm hoping MCU doesn't take the notion of the illusion of change too strictly. Because I do want there to be stakes, right?
Yeah.
So yes and no.
Yeah, that's that. It took me a while to process it. Like I had to read a couple of things. I was like, because I wasn't sure how to read it, how to analyze it, and how to digest it. Really, it was a bit of a weird thing. See, like I've seen a portion of like a few people online going, "Oh my god, this was a waste of 2 hours. It was a waste of an opportunity to move the story in different directions." But I was like, I don't really agree with that. But it's interesting to have that,
because that's just Wanda's side of it, right? Doctor Strange does go through changes. America Chavez does go through changes.
Talking about Vision, we didn't get to see White Vision. I thought at some point when I was like, he's got to drop at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that White Vision would keep tabs on Wanda to some degree, and maybe
so that scene where she's attacking at the Kamatage, let's go. And I was like, oh, that's a perfect moment for him to drop and go, hey, calm down. But then also I don't know, I don't really know how that would have gone on.
Exactly, because we need the rest of the film to happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. He comes back and is like, I can stop you with the power of love, which is kind of what the ending is about, by the way. You know, it's, hey, America, I'm a Doctor Strange zombie. The power of love, yo. You can touch fix everything. Go for it. Make little stars.
Other thing in this point in the movie, though, is just because I think it's a theme that's worth touching on as we go through this as well, is that we established that Christine is very important to this movie. True. Right, which I was debating whether Christine was going to be important to this movie or not, right? Because I love that What If Doctor Strange was about Christine entirely, of him trying to save her over and over again, and coming and see him at her wedding. Actually, I was like, oh, I like this. Like, I really enjoy that this is where it's going, and that it's going to be about him still losing her, because I love that in What If. So at that point, I was like, I'm in. I hope this keeps being a thread, and it does, right? We find out later in the movie it does. So that's the point. Like, I was all of this I was enjoying very much so in the movie theater.
The one bit when she goes at the wedding, she goes, "Are you happy?" I was like, "Oh my god,
yeah,
you want to make me cry?"
That was a bummer.
Actually, let's stay on Christine, because she shows up later on, so we can move on nicely to the Illuminatis.
Oh wait, no.
What, you want to go? You want to go something else?
There's one thing that I don't get all your takes on. No, because
there is.
There's a big one here, like them going through the multiverses.
Yes,
I think that's a huge one. We have to talk about that.
Fine.
Wait, Dave, I know you got thoughts on this, dude.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was like kind of like the evolution of Ant-Man going into atoms and stuff. Where we see them sort of go through and they change form, they turn into paint, and I can't even remember all of the other
cartoons
they take as they're spinning.
Cartoons, paint,
it was incredible, and that was really well done CGI wise with the slow-mo and everything.
I kind of wish, so this is what I was going on about the movie duration. It's like they would have taken an extra 2-3 minutes of spending a little bit more time in those, not just crossing over, but literally landing, going, like a scene, just a bit of dialogue, and then jumping somewhere else.
But do you know what it reminded
More.
me of?
Mm.
Rick and Morty.
Yes.
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 Thank you. Thank you.
100%.
Yes.
That is a brilliant episode of Rick and Morty. I can't remember which one I'm thinking of now, where do they end up in a place where dogs walk humans or something like that?
Yes, there's a bunch of that, yeah.
But yeah, there's a few different, obviously they always visit different places, but yeah, I think there's one episode in particular where they go to different versions of Earth, and there's one where Morty is worshipped. It's like a massive statue to him, and all kinds of stuff. It kind of just reminded me of that episode of Rick and Morty.
Yes. So this is where I want to go, because I'm so glad I touched on that. The writer for this movie is the writer for Loki. He got taken off of Loki to write this movie, and the showrunner had to continue writing. I believe that's my understanding how it went. And he used to be a writer on Rick and Morty. So there's a connection there, dude. Yeah. So that's why when I saw it, I was like, and this is what we're talking about, because this to me is a huge point in the movie. Because when I saw that, I'm like, I'm in. Take all my money. I'll pay twice to watch them. Like I am so in on what's gonna happen next. The expectation there peaked in that moment.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
And it didn't totally deliver.
But this is what I wanted to go with this though, because this is what I'm saying. I wish they would have stayed 30 seconds extra in each and every single universe they cross, because what we see in that version, so Rick and Morty, you've got entire episodes that when they stay in a different universe, right? So you get to see what happens and what, how everything's different but the same. In this one, it's really, I was gonna say almost like black and white. You've got our universe, good. They go into the other universe. They end up on 838, I think again, or they end up in the where we meet the third Doctor Strange, Evil Strange, and it's like, oh well, but you get a world where everything's okay-ish in color, and then you've got the other world where everything's dark and everybody's bad and everything's messed up. And I was like, that's kind of limiting yourself to.
But you also have the middle one is the green New York, right? Where everything
where they go and have their memories revealed. And which is fine, but like I feel they could have lasted. Like I didn't, even if you add 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes of maybe exploring a little bit of different. Like the cartoon one, I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. The paint one would have been funny. Like you can have so many different ways of attacking the multiverse. So that was one of my things. That it was more like a want more than I need to see it. It's like I would love to see that, but yeah.
I think you have to definitely have to look at runtime. You have to look at how those would move the plot forward, because something significant would have to happen there for them to stay there.
I was more thinking about it in terms of a funny minute and a half of stuff where they just like they land somewhere, they understand very quickly how different that universe is compared to where they come from or where they were just before that. More of that thing, like the 1980s montage sort of thing is like the music. Really, like,
okay, we've got to get out of here. This is happening. Let's go.
Like they get chased by a massive dinosaur with this kind of, whatever, testicles for a face or whatever, and you're like, oh god, what the hell's going on? Obviously not PG-13. I mean, like something completely outrageous, and you're like, oh my god, and then they jump to another universe.
Wait, that was Thanos.
All sack. But yeah, do you know what I mean? Like just something like that. I'm not asking like something massive to happen in this universe, but just like maybe like a comedic take on those crossing over different universes. Anyway.
I also think money is the other thing that might have limited them on that front. I know we do see a lot, and obviously Doctor Strange is always a heavily CGI intensive film. But having to actually fully realize those worlds, I think that's why they kind of went with New York, other New York, and then bland, destitute end place. It's still New York, isn't it?
Because
yeah, what else?
with that, what I was thinking is like, to your point, yes, a little more time with them, but I also thought like, I'm happy for him to go through that. But I thought in the other end of it, we would get a little more of like the Loki last few episodes vibe, where you get like alligator Loki, you get like failed Thor Loki, you get like with Nail and I Loki, like you get all those little like or like kid Loki, like all those versions. I'm like, oh, that ties it. Like to me, that was a callback to like the Loki show, where I was like, we get to see like how this multiverse thing kind of plays out across all these people. And then to your point, like they get to like Green New York and stuff, and that's where I was like, okay, I guess we're here. But my expectation at the time, this is not in hindsight, at the time, I was like, okay, Green New York, let's see what happens next. So that's where my head was at the time. I was like, where are we going next? That's going to be wilder and crazier, and how it's going to keep building the wild and craziness. That's where I was thinking at the movie at the time.
And they don't go in that direction of having loads of different venues, right? Loads of different locations.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think we've skipped past one significant bit that I did want to talk about.
Yeah, go for it.
Don't mind rewinding, Tom. Because by this point, Chavez has jumped with the new Doctor Strange, right?
Yeah.
The point that leads us up to that is Wanda attacking Kamatage. Right?
Yes.
So she does her whispering, which is back now. The whispering's back. And I thought it was really cool. Not the fight in general, I didn't think was great, but when Doctor Strange traps her in the land of mirrors, and then she touches one of the mirror and it turns to water, and then they flip to them and they realize she's coming through the reflections, and they're like, cover up any water. I thought that was probably the best horror moment of the entire film.
Yes, absolutely. That's the only time I got freaked out. I was, oh God, this is too creepy.
I was like, this is an amazing concept. And it's just like, there's a puddle, there's a drink, there's just little bits of water and mirrors and any reflection.
Oh my God.
They had
and the way she comes out.
I thought it was brilliant. And the way she came out as well.
Oh my God, that was so
brilliant.
In chapter 1, when they're in the house and they like he comes out of the fridge, the clown comes out of it. I don't know if you watched the latest version, the remake of it, but there's a scene when they go down the house and there's a fridge and he comes out of it literally the same fashion that she does, which is like reversed and putting her body back.
And that kind of snap, and it was very Ring / Grudge.
Ring.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's what I was saying. Yep.
It was Ring. It was all this horror movies. Yeah, that's the one part I went, ooh.
It's Japanese horror. Yeah.
No, agree. They let Raimi be Raimi there. Like if that was part of the reshoots for Raimi, like that part was, and I'm glad you brought it back because I agree. That's also, and I thought like, oh, we're in for like horror stuff happening here because it's happening this early on, and it was well executed.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I say yes and no.
Sense of just like coming in from everywhere, like every puddle is an opportunity. That's such a horror movie trope. So for sure.
Parts of me kind of, I wish there was an 18 version somewhere of like actual blood, like like they film alternate scenes and they just hopefully like on the Blu-ray or something it comes out like a different version which is actually scary, like when they go all the way and they say Sam, you can film the movie and also at the same time you can shoot some extra scenes and stuff that you will put in there as a
the Raimi cut.
Release the Raimi cut. Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe that would explain why they didn't spend that much money on CGI and they just went, actually, we need to pay for everyone to stay behind and film some more scenes. I don't know.
Yeah. But that was the other moment that I wanted to pick up on before we went to the Illuminati stuff.
Completely forgot about that scene, which is actually funny enough, the only one that scared me.
That's good.
Right, for the sake of timing, let's go.
I know, Tom. You want to get to Illuminati? I picked up on that.
We do need to.
Which is where I actually went. For the how long they're in there for? Like 15-20 minutes, the entire thing. Yeah. So about that maybe. I don't know. I lost track of time in that moment. And this is when I went, let's stay in this world. This is fun. So basically, they send Doctor Strange. No, wait, they capture Doctor Strange and America Chavez, and they go into this. So obviously, they're thinking, oh, well, he's from another universe. We need to get them in quarantine, in keeping with the times we live in. We'll, get them in quarantine. We need to make sure they don't contaminate anyone, and then we'll see what we do with you guys.
Mm.
And then that scene comes up when it's like, well, we get Doctor Strange in front of the Illuminatis so he can have a little chat about what's going on.
And that was it, right? They name dropped them first.
Yes.
Which I thought was an interesting way of revealing. They were like, all right, come through to this room so you can meet the Illuminati. And then obviously fans that know are just like, oh, it's happening.
Yeah. And then they had all this Ultron robot thing that actually behaving as actually that's what it should have been in the first place, right? Just safety, police,
good point.
Force. And I was that's interesting that he's that version of himself. Or that's what Ultron is supposed to be. It's supposed to be safeguarding everyone, and they're there just to keep peace. I don't know. I don't even know. Be the police. Allegedly. So they get introduced to the Illuminati, which is Baron Mordo, which is Mordo, evolved, I guess, more powerful as a Sorcerer Supreme, right?
Chiwetel Ejiofor, yeah.
Which, funny enough, I can't go. Every time I see him in what's that Christmas movie he's in?
Love Actually.
Love Actually. I cannot go past that role. Every time I see him, I'm like, he's getting married. He's in that church. All you need is love. Funny. I cannot. I don't know. We then get to see Captain Carter, which I thought was funny.
Doctor Strange shows up with cue cards, reading that only he can read.
I'm the real Doctor Strange, and for this Christmas, I'm gonna do the bunny in a hat trick. So Captain Carter is revealed, which I thought was badass. Which is what we're saying. Badass. What if? Watch What If you want to get it.
Yeah.
We get Captain Marvel, but it's the Monica Rambeau version, which I had a stupid moment when I went, oh, she looks familiar. And then after her talking, I went, oh, wow. Put your brain back on. I was like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Then we get Black Bolt, which I thought was amazing because Black Bolt in the series is the only one character I like. He's the only one that I felt like he could be in a movie, right? So if you watch the Inhumans, which we both said was fairly average. Pretty bad. I was like, Black Bolt is the only one that when I was watching it at the time, I was like, he could be in the film. He could be in the MCU. He's got he doesn't need to talk. He's got a nice persona about him.
Doesn't need to talk.
Awesome.
Great dialogue.
Great dialogue. Great dialogue.
Get this guy in a movie right now. He acts only with his face.
I like the way you deliver that line of silence. And then we got introduced to Dr. Reed Richards, which is Krasinski. Can't say that.
Krasinski.
Yeah. Krasinski, John Krasinski. And then he's introduced as the most intelligent person in the universe or whatever, in the world or whatever. And then that's contradicted literally 2 minutes later, not even 30 seconds later. And then the big moment was Professor X, Charles Xavier, getting riding on his Tesco trolley, yellow Tesco trolley.
And
don't knock that. Dude, that's straight callback to the cartoon.
I know, it's a callback. It's the cartoon, and even the music is from the cartoon.
Yeah, they implemented that. That was a great moment. That
was a great moment.
And this is where I go back to my cinema experience, and obviously they one thing that I noticed was they didn't just call him Black Bolt, they called him Blackie is Boltium or something. They gave him what's the language, like a Hebrew or Latin version of his name.
I will find it for you because I saw it. Yes, carry on.
And I love Black Bolt, so I reacted to that. Then they showed Captain Marvel. No one reacted, but I think it's cool that it was Rambo. And then they show Krasinski, and everyone was like, oh, like everyone in the cinema verbally reacted. And then they rolled out, well, not rolled because he doesn't touch the ground, but they floated out old Professor X. And that was the moment when I remembered that he was in the trailer, because I'd completely forgotten. And then I was like, oh no, it makes so much more sense as to why he's in the film as a member of the Illuminati. Which I hadn't, because I didn't theorize beforehand. I didn't come up with that conclusion. I'm sure there were people that did, and that would have ruined the experience of having the Illuminati if I expected that might happen. But there was a guy sitting like 2 or 3 seats away from me on the same row, and he clearly hadn't watched the trailer. So while everyone else doesn't really react to Professor X being brought out, he's there going, oh my gosh. Like, he doesn't say anything, but I could, he would, all of the mannerisms were just like, he could not believe it. He couldn't believe it. And that was a really nice moment, because that's part of the magic of these films, right? Where they get to do these big reveals and they get to bring these characters through from our childhoods. And yeah, it was nice to see him have that reaction. And part of me did wish that I got to see it like that as well.
Same, right? Same. Yeah. It's nice to be fully surprised. Yes,
that's how I saw it.
Nice.
I was that guy. I literally I was like pumping fists in the air. I was the only person. I was like, control yourself. A lot of middle-aged people might scare them. It might scare the middle-aged people. And because I remember someone saying you can hear Patrick Stewart in the trailer. But I never went back and reheard it to see if I could hear him, and I was like, I was just caught up in other stuff, and I was like, I never did that. So I was like, oh. So my reaction was like, Monica Rambeau was more like, you earned that. Like Peggy Carter, you earned that. John Krasinski was like, the internet always wins. That was my reaction to John Krasinski. And then and then Black Bolt, honestly, I was like, who the hell's that? Because I never saw that here. I was like, who's this dude? Is this a new character? I was like, and I don't see the point of him. And then when Professor X rolls out, I did get very excited. I like fist pumping excited for sure. Like I had a really good time watching that.
That's awesome.
So this is where we explain what the Darkhold, or how one of the spell they use from the Darkhold, which is called Dreamwalking. Basically, you can use the book to cast a spell in which you end up controlling the body of a different version of yourself in a different universe, and then you do whatever you want.
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But then anyway, so Wanda gets to the happy version of herself in that universe, which she's got her 2 kids, and she takes over that body and gets into the center, whatever they are, everyone's being kept, and where the Illuminatis are, which happens to be the British Museum, I think. That's where they filmed that.
Yeah, it looked like. I kept thinking, it was
actually
it
filmed
strong British Museum vibes.
The big ceilings and when he goes up the stairs with the entrance, that's where it's filmed.
But
so anyway,
isn't that now the 3rd time they filmed something there?
Probably.
Because isn't the Eternals?
No, the Eternals is the National History Museum.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, the national wasn't it the National Gallery for the Eternals?
No, National History Museum. The
National History.
South Kensington. Which is completely different. I think the British Museum.
No, because you can see Trafalgar Square though.
Is it doesn't?
Oh, Moon Knight. Moon Knight
is the National Gallery, right? He was
the National Gallery.
Yeah, that's it.
The other
Sorry.
One. So really, it's 0 times. But staying on that point, at the start of Black Panther,
yes, when he goes in and
Killmonger is in the British Museum, but it's not the British Museum.
That's not at all.
That room does not exist in the British Museum. But they call it the British Museum, and
it's not and you can't see the entrance.
It's not.
Yeah.
So anyway, what we're talking about the Darkhold. Anyway, she gets the body. She goes into that detention center, and then she goes, all right, let me go. And she goes full Michael Jackson going,
dude, get to the fight. It's the fight. Let's talk about the fight.
She gets to the fight. And this is what I was saying. The Dr. Reed Richards, most cleverest person in the entire universe. So you've got that scene where dreamwalking Wanda is now finally confronting the Illuminatis, namely Black Bolt, Richard Reed's Captain Marvel, and Captain Britain.
Captain Britain.
And then you're like, oh,
what did you
sweet
think
fight.
about the fight, dude?
The fight? No. So
What did
when
you
he
think?
goes,
I'm
he goes
dying to hear your
like,
thoughts.
we'll dispatch you so quickly you don't even understand. And it's like, you just need to talk. You just need to speak. And she goes, huh? I didn't know that.
And then they do.
By the way,
yeah. Oh no, that's it. Yeah, no, sorry. Finish your point.
Yes.
That is an
all he needs to say
important
is open his mouth to kill you. And she goes, like, you can see her thought process going, I did not know that. But hey, what mouth? And then it's that reveal. It's like everything shut down, and he goes,
Yeah.
So good, that part. I
Yeah,
really
I loved
enjoyed
it.
I
that
was
part.
not expecting.
Yeah, I literally jumped off and closed my mouth. I was like, I can't believe
Same.
they did that to him. I cannot believe they did that to
So
him.
It was the most
Absolute
un-Marvel
genius.
thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so
Absolute
not Marvel. I loved
Yeah.
it.
It was
It
so
was like,
cold.
thanks for coming, by the way. Thanks for joining. And,
Because
this is how you know.
and this is, I mean, the whole fight, but that moment in particular is, I think that's the biggest show of her power. I know we saw her turn a whole city into a new city, but and take control of thousands of people. But
Yeah.
I feel like that was the biggest showing of her power, and it kind of paid off on that moment that we saw in Endgame where she's fighting Thanos and she's beating Thanos until someone else
Yes.
intervenes. And Feige was
Yes.
asked, what would have happened if they carried on fighting one-on-one, and he said, oh, Wanda would have won. She's more
Yes.
powerful.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was sort of the realization of that. So we've seen her take down Kamatage against all of the sorcerers, and they've had to flee. And now we've seen her against other superheroes, powerful superheroes at that.
Yeah.
And I think-
Again, Captain Marvel being the one that is up there, strong enough to stand a chance, really.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh god, I want to see that, because then she dispatches Richard Reed like a bowl of spaghetti. He was like,
Yeah. Wacky waving inflatable arm, man.
It made me laugh, but also I was like slightly disgusted by it. But I did crack a laugh. And then she kills Captain Carter after she goes, I can do this all day. And I was like, yes.
Yes.
And then literally 30 seconds later, she's cut in half.
Cut in half. 50-50.
That was also a good death, I thought.
Yeah.
Because I was like, how is she going to kill her? Because not in terms of a can she kill her? It's like, it was more like how.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was metal. I liked it. Like, of course, they couldn't do the shot of the actual shield slicing, which would have been so good, but it's PG-13. So
But that would have been the 18 version, which I'm hoping for. I'm hoping they film that, which is like like a slow reveal of her.
Like Mortal Kombat, you see her guts
Yes.
fly out and
Yeah.
her spinal cord detach.
Oh, that would have been so sweet.
dude, so good.
And then Captain Marvel just attacks and just goes Captain Marvel on
The
her.
rubble pulled down on her.
Yeah, the rubble pulls down.
Something
The
like
way
that.
she died, I was like,
Yeah,
But-
I agree.
Yeah.
I was like, you want a
Compared
big
to the
explosion.
others.
Yeah, compared to the others, like something a little bit more creative than just being crushed to death.
Yeah.
Because she's Captain Marvel, like she can destroy
Surely.
entire planets.
Yeah.
So it's like, let me drop a statue on you. But
It pays Wanda off in a nice way, and I'm glad you brought this up about like the callback to Endgame and her strength, because what I'm hoping comes from this. At the time, at the movie theater experience, it was like, Wanda's so metal, like she's just so strong. But what I'm hoping comes from this is that Wanda becomes another like Hulk, if this makes sense. And that Hulk in the ongoing Marvel's universe outside of the MCU is always like
Most
a
powerful.
weapon that is unleashed that just destroys everything, because Hulk is immortal, right? So it's like he's unleashed onto like the world, and they try to guide the way that Hulk will be used, right? And I feel like Wanda takes on one of those roles, I think, in the MCU, where it's like unleash Wanda, because she can take out literally anyone. And I think that's where the Illuminati, outside of fan service, served a role in establishing the strength of Wanda.
but
Right?
she's picking up the mantle because the Hulk is on his way out anyway. We'll see him in She-Hulk.
Exactly.
But like in terms of being a strong character that can just go in there and be absolutely
Being a weapon. Yeah.
like a weapon, that's done. That's done. Like he wasn't
Exactly.
even in
It's
Endgame as a
established.
weapon, right? So
And I like that quite a bit in that bit. And the only part from this part of the movie I think is very important, and it's because at the time of the movie I thought that's what this movie's about. Because for up until here I'm like, cool. What's this movie actually about outside of like of like getting
Yeah.
America Chavez to safety and whatever it may be, right?
Mm.
And then they talk about like, Stephen, you're the problem in every universe.
Yeah.
It's your hubris, like your arrogance is the problem in every universe. And when that's established, I'm like, that's what the movie's about, right? At that point, that's what I'm thinking. I'm going like, all right, this is setting up the third act really nicely. I can't wait to see how like Stephen like reckons with his demons. I thought this is where we're going, right? So we can now progress on to the third act.
The one last thing about the Illuminati scene, which was on with me level with the way Black Bolt dies, is the way Professor X dies, which
that was
4 minutes before he dies, he's
Yeah.
lecturing Doctor Strange. He's talking to Doctor Strange, talking shit about Captain America, or talking shit about another Avengers, always going alone to try and defeat enemies. And then what does he do? He goes alone somewhere in
Into her
another
mind.
universe and gets absolutely shattered by a big cloud of Wanda. So
Yeah,
I was like,
just next snap.
Yeah, next snap, which again was very Japanese horror.
Mm.
Like the heads going up.
Yeah.
Bang.
Yep.
So, yes, very nice.
Even smoke, the red smoke as well.
Smoke.
It's very Japanese.
Very lost.
Stop mentioning it.
It's just the way they show all the time.
No, I'm joking. Can I do the next little bit? Because I have something to say about it. So now we're into like full chase mode in the film, right? They're being chased. All of this part of it is about them being chased by Wanda. And this is also where I think a common theme which bothered me was starting to build up, right? I think it started with the first scene with Wanda. And by now we've had a few moments where we're getting Raimi cheese every few minutes. We're getting these moments, these cheesy, corny moments from the characters where I start to become very aware that Sam Raimi directed this film, which is something that I'd actually forgotten when I went to the cinema to see it.
Yeah.
And then these things started happening. And then I was like, wait a minute, what? And I was like, oh yeah, it's a Sam Raimi film. And I think it's brought into a nice little microcosm, a nice little nutshell by this next part, which is where we have Wanda chasing them on foot, bare feet, on glass, when she can fly.
Yes.
Yep. Why?
And it's like, why do we have this? Why do we have these scenes where they're cutting to just her feet going across the glass? Are we supposed to be scared by this? First of all, it's really cheesy and it's totally unnecessary because she can fly.
I thought about it too. Yeah, that was a bit off from there.
Thank you for bringing up that scene. I'm not talking about thoughts because I got thoughts.
No, go for it.
Oh yeah. So I know this is a struggle where I'm like, it feels like two different movies at that point. Like that scene feels like a completely different movie. Like if they would have gone full Raimi on it, that scene makes sense, right? But once it's cut in with the other elements where you see her take out all of the magicians from a flying position and like her strength and take out the Illuminati to like, oh, I'm just like going after you. Like I'm like a monster in a horror, in like a B-level horror movie. I'm like, I appreciate what they tried, but it didn't make sense with the rest of the movie. And just about the only thing I like from that scene is the way that they iconized her as Carrie. With the blood over her face, and her look during that scene I thought was awesome. If they would have just combined that look with her powers, that becomes terrifying, right? Because seeing her splatter blood, like hair across her face in the same way, like I'm like so scary. But then the way they played it, I'm like, oh, dude, they ran out of budget. Like I was like, and even like when they're like waiting behind the wall and they build the tension once again. And then she just like slides in. I'm like,
from where?
Makes sense in another movie, not in this movie. Not in this movie. I was like, oh, come on, guys.
You know what? That bit when she slides in is just that, you know, when you're at school and you're doing a school production and you're like, and then the next scene, you just come from that place and you're like, but that makes no sense. I was there. Why should I come from this side? It's like, no, just it makes sense.
Just jumps in from the side. From the side.
From the side. There's no doors. There's nothing. No.
It was literally a PowerPoint transition.
Wow, imagine the next movie, WandaVision in the universe. No, the PowerPoint multiverse.
They're like, Feige, can we go to 200 million and one? No. Let's stay at 200 million. Okay, PowerPoint.
She just slides in. It was so bad. It was so bad.
But it's
And
funny.
why did they stop? I'm being chased.
Yeah, they stop and look at the wall.
They just stop and look. All of the rest get blown up. She's just like, boom, coming through them. Pow, next one.
Yeah.
Wallop.
Yep.
That's another Batman reference.
Yep.
And then they're just like, oh, wait, there's no explosion?
That wall, I
just
can't.
look at it.
That wall, I can't. I just can't that one. I have a special relationship with that wall. What are you doing?
So
yeah, no, the bit that also made me laugh out loud is when he opens up the door with his watch, and I'm like,
that's the very next bit, I think. I can't remember how.
That's the next bit.
Yeah,
it's just they need to get to the book, which is behind the door, so they need to get into that universe, that world which is in between universes.
But where does Wanda go after she slides in? After she does her PowerPoint presentation.
Oh God, I forgot what she did.
She has a dark hold and go back to the temple where she's like worshipped at the temple.
Is she flat?
No, but from that very moment, because they're in the tunnel, she obviously pops in, and then what happens?
No, she finds out from Wong that she can go to the temple, and that has the inscriptions of the Darkhold. But how does she get to the temple from there? I don't know. She slides over that way.
She
does the electric slide over.
Doesn't she release? I think I can't remember, but I think she releases the body.
It goes to show we can't remember this because the third act is not good in this movie.
Doesn't she release the body and then the body, like she suddenly the girl? I think there's a scene where she goes, "Oh my children!" Like she just literally walks back to the house. Like Wanda just releases the body she took control of. Like,
or does she? Oh, maybe, is that when she gets interrupted in the place where she's
she's doing the thing and she's
floating?
Yeah, she's interrogating Wong or something like because
isn't
somebody else destroyed the first book. Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody else, another sorcerer, destroys the book, and she's like, "Oh my God, what the hell?" And he's like, "Tell me," which is again was very funny. It's like, "Tell me if there's another version." No. Tell me, okay. Really, you're the worst. It's like, okay, but I won't tell you where it is. No, you will. Okay, fine. There's another version, the real one, up there, but we can't go. And then they do end up using the circle of thingy, transportation. And there's that funny bit again where she goes, "Oh, you could have just dropped us off over there." And I'm like, yeah, why don't they do that? There's the same thing in Endgame when Thanos goes to get the other stuff, and like there's a big ass mountain, and then they just drop in the middle of a fucking lake, and I'm like, surely you can if you've made the travel from A to the other end of the galaxy B.
Nightcrawler would never.
Nightcrawler would not do that. But yeah. I thought that was funny.
We're building to this, I feel. We're building to one of these.
But then, okay, so are we moving on then to the bit where he's Doctor Strange versus evil Doctor Strange? Which actually, I'm not too sure about that fight scene between the two of them and the musical notes. I was like, oh, it's awesome, but also it sucks.
I thought that.
Do you remember that scene?
Oh,
I thought it was awesome.
No, I thought it was
my favorite
awesome.
parts of the movie. Yeah,
I thought it was awesome, but for some weird reason, I also hated myself for thinking it was awesome. So I was like, I don't understand what because again, it felt misplaced. I was like, what the fuck is he doing here? He's got all the superpowers, and now rabbit hat. It's like musical.
No.
I was like,
okay, no. So I was about to dunk on you, but no. You are right. You are right. There was something, and I felt that at the movie theater, where it's like I was enjoying it, but it's where I realized, oh, that's the weird thing about this universe. And I felt the movie had not established that there was something weird about that universe outside that it's dark, right? Yeah. So when it came, you're right, it was unexpected. Where I was like, oh, that's the weird thing here. But then when they were doing it, I'm like, dude, this is the best
then it was awesome.
This is so good. Cool. But I agree, it was a little bit out of place in that sense. The setup of it, yeah.
Then they went with all of the music that was license free and you don't have to pay for it because it's all classical music, which is out of. out of copyright. It's copyright free. Just went out.
Savings, baby, savings.
By the way, do you see how the CGI ran out of cash? By the way, we ran out of cash for the track list because, well, James Gunn's using it all for Guardians 3 now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna use copyright free music that's in public domain.
Yep. But I thought it was awesome. That fight in particular, I thought it was awesome. When they started doing that, I was like, oh, that is absolute genius.
Really well executed.
I did have a few criticisms of the rest of that universe. When they arrive there and they show that it's all derelict and destroyed, and then they show in the distance a figure in the window of Strange Mansion, forgotten what it's called. And the figure looks terrible. It's like a light bluish character. I don't know why it looks like that.
Maybe that was your screen.
Oh, no, you're right. No,
when they show him in the,
you
know, he has that sort of symbol on the window or whatever.
And
they show it in the distance and they see that there's someone in there. They acknowledge it. They're like, there's someone in there, which they didn't need to do. And the actual figure, the person in the window, just looks completely, I was going to say strange, but that's too on the nose. I can't complain about the Raimi cheese and then let it overtake you. But yeah, that was another CGI moment where I was just like, what the hell was that?
I remember this because actually Aiden commented on it. They said, remember Aiden said something about like, what's up with the blue? Like, is that something about this universe or something? Yeah, and it didn't factor into like a real logic necessarily.
No explanation, no nothing.
Yeah, the universe had a lot of random stuff that felt like, well, I don't need everything to be explained. I feel like it needs to just like be true to its own logic of why it's weird, right? Because we're not spending a lot of time there, so you need to kind of get it quickly.
He needs to fly out of the window and land on the only item that is in the entire universe. A pointy fence.
Which again goes
this
with
vast
the
land, desolate,
the theme.
anything.
the constant theme in the movie of all those deaths that I'm like, what the hell? It's Sam Raimi again going, let me impale someone real quick, just so we've got that too. Like, tick that box. But the interesting interaction is Doctor Strange, is asking for Christine, Third Eye Strange. He's like, oh, give me Christine because I lost mine, so I want to marry her in some sort of revenge wedding sort of thing, which was fairly odd. And then that's why they fight. So that's like, I was expecting something else that would bring up their fight, because in the trailer, if you remember, there's like, the end of another movie is like, this got out of hand. And I was thinking it was like, I was expecting a bigger role for this Doctor Strange, the evil one. I was expecting him to pop up earlier for some reason. I thought that would have been the bad guy, to be honest. Like, not having read anything, I was expecting him. So that's where the trailer misled a bit. Which again, Marvel is a king of messing trailers.
Yeah, so this one is where I have some deep thoughts on. If I was like, I'm gonna this is a little post analysis along with in the moment, but. This is why I noted earlier about like this movie's about Doctor Strange reckoning with his own demons, about him being the bad guy or the person that disrupts things in multiple universes, right? And that's a very Tony theme, right? Yeah. Because Tony's inventions and technology ends up creating most of like phase 1 and 2's like problems, right? As truth of the matter, right? So I was like, oh, okay, they're leaning into that theme. So when they're fighting over Christine, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, I thought it would be a fight for like the soul of what it means to be a Doctor Strange, right? And the same with like Loki's trying to find out what it is to be a Loki. Yeah. I thought Doctor Strange would be fighting to be the version of Doctor Strange that does make the sacrifice or does do the right thing in this universe to make things better. And they establish at some point later on that he's fighting to like save America Chavez, which this Doctor Strange does not have an emotional attachment to.
This is where the two storylines are very similar. So Iron Man was a selfish man, only thinking about himself first.
Correct.
Doctor Strange the same. And now if you look, Iron Man's dead. He's taken over looking after Spider-Man, Tom Holland. He's looking after America Chavez now. He's protecting universes and worlds. So that's what Iron Man wanted to do, right, with the Iron Dome and all this stuff, creating Ultron and all that good business. And the same way, Iron Man created Ultron, messed it up, created even more problems. Doctor Strange, same. He wanted to help out Spider-Man, created a whole bunch of issues with opening up doors to different universes. So their storyline is the same. So does that mean Doctor Strange is going to die at the end of Phase 4?
I mean, whether he does or not, I think it's just more the setup of it right now, where it's like he's still not. This movie concludes, and he still is not reckoned with the fact that he is the Doctor Strange that messes up everything, right? Still across multiple universes, like that conflict is never resolved in this movie, and that's the part that bugged me, where I was like, "This is not the end of the movie that I thought we were going through." Like, it doesn't deliver on that.
Even the post end credits scene is literally that it carries on. It's like, hey, by the way, there's something else that you need to clean
adventure.
Up. Come with me.
Yeah, exactly.
So on his character, there's no resolution. That's true.
Yeah.
And I think maybe even the What If episode does a better job of showing that that it goes on a better path of reckoning, and ends with him literally destroying his universe and having it cave in on itself. So
which was a badass
criticism
ending
for sure.
Like if Doctor Strange were to run into the imprisoned version of himself that has all those powers, right? Like in this movie, which I thought that was going to happen. That's the only plot thing that I thought they're going to bring the What If stuff.
That's kind of what that third Doctor Strange is kind of trying to embody, I think.
Yeah, it's like a bit of that, but that Doctor Strange has realized that they're only a force for evil. And then seeing good Doctor Strange see that and reflect that on himself and go like, holy shit, I've got to change. That's what I wanted, right? Yeah. And then just like musical note fight, super awesome, but the reason why they're having it, not awesome. That's where I got to. I was like, it's about Christina. I'm like, oh, okay.
And that's why I want to go back to that one scene where they show how the Illuminatis killed evil Doctor Strange and how he looks and like one of the paths he's taking. By the way, in terms of costumes and how it looks, I love that Doctor Strange with the black fingers up. That was pretty. I was like, that's emo Doctor Strange. I want to see. Let's move along quickly because we already
running long.
Just to make it super quick, the end. Doctor Strange gets a hold of the what's called the book.
The Darkhold. But there are consequences.
From evil Strange. He then takes a hold again of the body they've left behind of the first Doctor Strange we see in the movie, which is buried on the rooftop. He now becomes Zombie Strange, which is freaking awesome. Using the soul of other souls as wings, which is weird. To fly into that place where Wanda is now. Which was funny also. I was like, so he uses that to get to the place where Wanda is now doing all the magic from, right? She's now she got
the Darkhold.
She got Chavez, and she's like, all right, cool. Now I'm going to use that. So Wanda jumps through different universes, and she lands where her kids are, scaring them in the process. I would say in the opening of the episode, where the kids are now freaked out by her and the way she looks. It's the resolution of her story, which is, oh well, look, the real mommy is going to look after them, and I think she says something which I didn't catch during the when I watched the movie. Which
I didn't catch it either.
Be loved. Know that they will be loved. So
is that what she says?
She says to her that awesome scene though, because it's literally the scene of her looking down at Vision. It's the same scene. It's like the same angle. It's the same. And it's like she says something. And then me, I was like, I didn't catch what she said.
Yeah, at the theater, I had to look it up.
So she said, know that your kids will be loved. Get out of my house, basically. Then Wanda comes back to reality. In the meantime, Zombie Strange talks to America Chavez going, the power of love and rainbows will help you control your powers. XOXO, I'm on TikTok. And then, boom, she's like, yes, let's open a portal. Let's do a bunch of stuff. And then that's how it finishes, right? That's like they all become friends again. Wanda is like, I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna off myself, which she doesn't. everything. She destroys everything around us, so no one else can use the Darkhold.
Yeah.
Basically, sort of thing. But again, as it is the rule in many movies, if you don't see the body, I mean, they're still alive.
They're not dead.
They ain't dead. So
thoughts on
the
the end?
movie
What
ends
do you guys
on
think?
that, right?
Yeah.
And then then we go to Kamatage and they're training America Chavez to be the sorcerer.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just
Yes.
It did descend into ridiculousness at this point with Doctor Strange literally talking out the side of his mouth. Even the wraiths, the time wraiths, that's something that I always laughed at in the CW version of Flash, which are those black demons where if you've used the Darkhold to travel through universes, they attack you. I assume they only do that when you're not the Scarlet Witch. And then the hand sticking through out of the ground, very 80s, very thriller, very very old school Raimi cheese.
Very Jason, where the water comes out of the hand. The water,
and at that point, there was a particular group of people in the cinema that were just laughing out loud. Right? It had gotten to that level of ridiculousness where they were just laughing out loud, and the cheese had run over. Right? You'd put the melted cheese sandwich in the sandwich toaster, and it was escaping, and you could hear it burning on the toaster itself, and you knew it was going to be a big cleanup job because of how cheesy it had gotten. And as much as I think
first of all, 5 for 5 on the analogy, dude. You took that to the limit, dude. Damn, I like that.
And at this point, I was like, I love so much of what they did in the film. If someone had just sat me down and said, this is going to happen, and this happens to Black Bolt, that happens to her, and then he turns into a zombie, and this happens, and that happens, and, we get this resolution, I'd be like, this film is incredible.
Yeah.
But watching it play out with those cheesy moments, every time it just sort of detracted from the 2 steps forward that they were taking with some of the excellent decisions and plot points and story that they had assembled to that point. It just it took me out every time something cheesy or corny or whatever happened. I was just like, did you have to do this? I thought it was one of the most self-indulgent films from a director that I had ever seen.
Ooh, scorching hot take.
It really bothered me. It really bothered me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, as a film, the things that they accomplished and whatever was excellent. Yeah. So I had this conflict, and that is what I was bursting at the seams to talk about when I came out of the cinema.
Yeah.
No, the self-indulgence, I don't know if I agree with self-indulgence, but I agree that it's a disjointed movie. That last scene with the zombie, I love the idea of zombie Strange. I just think that using it at that point was ridiculous. It made no sense. There's another version of this movie that leans into the cheese and is amazing. But the fact that it was sliced in with all these other really cool moments, I think that's the part that bugs me. And I feel that it's because Raimi got brought in during the production of the movie, that it's let me put my most Raimi stamp on it, but it's not a fully stamped through Raimi. If it were rubber stamped all the way through Raimi, I've been great, right? But it's not, right? It's it's kind of mixed in with clearly another movie, and that's why at the end I'm the zombie didn't bug me as much as the fact that Doctor Strange wasn't there bugged me. I'm I want my hero, because this is a Doctor Strange movie, to resolve the final conflict, right? I want that to happen. And Doctor Strange kind of didn't do it directly. And that kind of bugged me. I don't know. The fact that he was just puppeteering someone was kind of well, then you can't die there. So there's no stakes for you in that final conflict. Like you'd be fine in either universe, sort of thing. And you're not coming to terms with who you are and the issues that you cause. That doesn't get addressed at all. And the final thing that bugs me, that's what I was saying for this, is that America Chavez is the equivalent of the Ark in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh,
She serves no purpose, and it pisses me off because it's like we get Latino representation. I was so happy about that, and she is just the thing that is being sought after. And then she comes out of the blue to resolve the conflict, to your point, with love, but it has not been earned in any way because we have not gotten to know her because they underwrote that character so badly. And that's why I'm kind of bummed that actually America Chavez is in this movie in a way, because it should have been a movie about Doctor Strange and him dealing with his demons, and it ends up being about her ending with love, which is a nice story, like thought and blah 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 and so forth. But it makes no sense in the movie, and she's underwritten. She could be an arc for that matter.
You kind of linking up with what I said at the start, which is I feel like she should have got an introduction movie or at least a series on Disney Plus, something first for us to get to know her. So she fully explore who she is, where she comes from, her powers, and like you end the series, you end the movie with big ass monster that is controlled by Wanda showing up. Or those monsters keep coming. At every single episode, there's a new threat, a new monster that comes up, and then it's like, oh well, again, I've got to run away. I've got to do this. I've got to link up with somebody else. So
that is a great idea.
I agree with that. which is like, again, it's the biggest critic I have. My biggest problem with the DC universe is that it's like they just drop in all those characters and they go check it all up, and then let's see if it sticks.
That's a great. And that would have been a really good payoff.
Yeah, I didn't expect Marvel to do that. I thought that's kind of a mistake, but also they are at the stage where they can afford to do that, right? Because they've introduced so many characters, they've done it over and over again with having standalone movies first and then getting those guys together into a dedicated movie. I think my final thought was I came out of it and I was like, what the hell did I just watch? As in, I'm confused. Like, and that's why, again, I repeat myself, that's why it took me a week to fully understand or fully get to know, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Digest the entire thing and say, okay, this is what I've just seen. This is why this happened. This is why this will happen next. Like, I was entertained throughout the movie. I was like, yeah, this is rock and roll. There's a lot of stuff that happens. Like you said, Dave, it's like, if you tell me before the movie that we get to see this on film, I'd be like, yeah, this is going to be a banger film. But it feels confused. It feels like I was confused. It feels like I need to go and watch it again with the knowledge of having seen it once and analyzing what we know about it and trying to understand where it's going. And then my second thing is what I think I texted everyone with was the voicemail I dropped, which was, again, I don't want to dive too much into this because we've been overrunning already, but like, who's the big bad guy? Where is this, like, as a universe, as a phase 4, where is this
where's it going?
Yeah, because I feel like that got established far earlier in the other phases, like what's coming up, but maybe not. Maybe it's just me. It didn't. And that was my response in the voice note, right? I just spoke to that moment where basically it's at the end of phase 1, at the end of basically the credit scene of the first Avengers movie, where we get Thanos. So we've actually had an entire phase with no big bad. And I think it's jarring to go back to that situation. That's why it feels the way it does. Because before we were just happy to, we've got an Iron Man film and a Thor film and this film's coming exactly
next.
Phase 1, you introduce two characters, right? Two new characters.
And that's what we're in now.
Yeah.
That's what we're in now. We're in another introductory phase. And that's why it feels so disjointed.
But it feels a bit messier than the introduction to all those characters in phase 1 in a way. Like, it was very, like, there was this formula to all the films. Like,
there was,
hey, this is what's happening. This is how they get to the powers. This is how they beat the big guy, the bad guy in that film.
Yeah.
In this one, I'm like, JC said, like he didn't resolve shit. But it's not your movie. It's a Wanda
because
movie.
some of our characters are already established.
Exactly.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes,
and the third one is it's a Wanda movie. It's not a Doctor Strange movie.
yeah. It's the least thing it is a Doctor Strange movie, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Out of everything. But even the first phase, it's like, yes, they pulled off the first couple of phases that it felt cohesive, but I think sometimes we give them a little more credit because there is a little Rosetta Stone moment there in the same way where like Luke makes out with Leia, which means they weren't planning the ending of those movies.
Yep.
Captain America makes out with his niece. And they were planning it to go there, so they didn't totally have that worked out. Is the honest reality? But given what they had, Captain Alabama, given what and we're losing half our listenership right there.
Oh my god! I was gonna get rid of some UK quarters as well, but I'll keep my thoughts to myself.
Yeah.
But given what they had to work with, they pulled us together very well to make Endgame so cohesive, right?
Yes.
So I think they just did a good job of pulling it together, but the setup was never that great. So I think I'll give them a pass on the setup on this part.
Yeah,
fine.
And they did have a big meeting to that effect about where the phases are heading and basically a long-term plan of how this all ends up tying together.
About that, yeah.
And speaking to that, I don't know, I can't remember if I mentioned this in my voice note, but I read an article afterwards, so in terms of post-film thoughts, about what direction they might be headed in. And again, some people may not want to theorize or anything like that, because that creates expectations. If so, skip ahead. But it looks like they're building towards Secret Wars, which is started by incursions. We get in the post-credit scene. Is it Cleo? Is her name Cleo?
Cleo, I believe.
Cleo. Says that there's been another incursion, and basically incursions are people jumping through multiverses, jumping between universes. And when you do that, it actually sets off a chain of events which ends up destroying both universes. So there's potential implications for that in each of the universes that we've seen in this film. And it basically leads to Secret Wars, which is a battle between Beyonders. But that'll be way down the line. It'll probably be at the end of phase 5 or 6.
There's a lot of setup before that.
But it does mean Doctor Doom potentially.
Yes,
eventually.
Doctor Doom. Well, the what was it on? Where do we go to like a fairy tale castle type place? Was it in this movie or was it in a Moon Knight?
I think it was in that movie.
Was it in this movie? Like a Bavarian countryside situation.
Oh no, that's in Moon Knight. Moon Knight episode
That's in
1.
Moon Knight. Yeah, someone was theorizing about like, is that where
Dr.
like
Doom's
the country where Doctor Doom comes from? Like, was it Latveria or I forget the name of the Latveria? So I thought that was kind of interesting, but I wasn't again probably reading too much into it. But I said my final wrap up on it is that after the movie, and we'll have to leave this for another episode because we cannot go into this, but I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. And it made this movie 1 degree crappier. Multiple degrees crappier, because I'm like, that's how you do a multiverse movie, with stakes, with heart, with payoffs, with flat out weirdness. That is amazing. And we can cover multiverses in another episode, but it downed this movie for me, where I'm like, they didn't lean into weirdness that it was promised halfway through in that montage of them jumping through universes. I wanted to see the payoff of that, and all the more so I'm like, and you can do it, and you can do it well within 2 hours. And that's what Everything Everywhere All at Once proves, for sure.
We'll talk about the multiverse. I think that's a upcoming episode because we need to talk about it anyway. I need to finish watching it in the first place, but also we need to talk about it. It's a very wide subject. Just so for people who want to know, the next Marvel show is what? Miss Marvel, I think?
Miss Marvel
is on the 8th of June. 8th or 7th.
8th? Okay.
Next movie is Thor.
Nice
Thor Love and Thunder is the next film, which is the 8th of July. And then we've got She-Hulk, Black Panther 2, November. Guardians of Galaxy Galaxy Holiday Special, which I don't know if I want to watch that.
Oh god, yeah, definitely.
Secret Invasion is after that, but we don't know.
We got some Nick Fury action.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Ant-Man 3 in February 2023, and then it goes to Guardians 3, Marvel's Echo, Fantastic Four, which is yet to be announced, but is...
And they changed directors.
And then there's a bunch of
John
different
Watts
movies.
is no longer attached.
Yeah, John Watts is not there. Then there's an X-Men movie that's coming out, and there's a Agatha Harkness series that's just been announced, which I added that. Anyway, we'll stop it there. We'll come back for a multiverse take special episode where we'll discuss everything that JC wanted to talk about but couldn't because we overran.
It was good. It was a good chat. Yeah.
Yes, it was a good chat. Right, Dave, where can people find you outside of this podcast? I'm sure there's another.
I don't want them to. I am part of the Grit and Grime basketball podcast along with Tom, the previously mentioned Jose as well. We talk hoops. We're in the playoffs. The stakes are getting higher. The games are so dramatic. A lot of acting going on. I don't know if anyone saw the Saturday night game. But yeah, you can catch us talking about those things over there.
Excellent. JC, where can people find you? What's your home address?
In Portland, Oregon. Just show up in there and shout JC.
So, show up. Just go to Portland and ask for JC.
Yes. People can find me here at the Catching Up with the Nerds podcast, along with the crew.
Indeed. Shout out to Sarah and James who couldn't make it, and Jose who was going to make it, but then decided to go and do some DIY. Priorities, but it's all good. We all have to do stuff in our lives we don't want. That's all right. Like taking part in this podcast? Nah, we all want to be here because we love it. Anyway, we'll catch you all in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Please do give us a little subscribe and a little like and a little follow and a little 5 stars. Yeah,
Yes.
Ring the bell and all that good stuff. But it is now time to say just stop and get on with our lives. I'll be in the Comic-Con next week with our fellow nerds. I will try and do some filming, so we got some YouTube content out there. I don't know if James is planning on being there. I think he might be, but hey. Right, that was the side note. We were catching up with the nerds. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you in the next episode. Whatever the topic will be, we don't know. Multiverse, probably. Anyway, thank you very much. Goodbye.
We can do this all day.